Hi everyone, and welcome to the next video in this series in which I'm going through the life of Bruce Lee. This is part 3. Anyone who hasn't subscribed yet, it'd be amazing if you could. Drop a like, share the video if you like it, and drop a comment if you've got any questions as well. I'll be happy to answer that. So, from the last video, around 1964, he done the famous Long Beach International Tournament, which is an international karate tournament, which had people like Chuck Norris, I believe Joe Louis maybe, Mike Stone, people like that competing of that calibre. And it was in this tournament where he gave, I guess, kind of a half-time demonstration, which you can see online. You see the famous 1-inch punch, 6-inch punch, where he done the finger push-ups, things like that. It's all over YouTube, so you get to see that. So that was kind of one of the breakthroughs of it. Now that is where two things happened. One, he was, I believe that's how he got in contact with Santo, who today is the leading authority in Jeet Kune Do, which was what's become Bruce's art. And he also, I believe, was seen by Jay Sebring. Jay Sebring was he was a Hollywood hairstylist to the stars, and he was also, as a little side fact, he was one of the people unfortunately murdered in the Sharon Tate murders, the Manson murders. Okay, but he got into contact with Bill Dozier. Now, Bill Dozier and Bruce Lee, I guess, met up, and Bill Dozier was like a producer. Now he had Charlie Chan's #1 Son, which was a TV series to be aired coming up, and he thought Bruce would be perfect for the role, seeing his demonstrations and whatnot. So they got in contact, and Bruce auditioned for that role. Now that role also is online. You can see it. I guess you put in Bruce Lee audition. It's quite a famous clip. So that's what happened. Now he got the part, except the show was never to be aired. However, the next series, which was to be the Green Hornet, which was, I believe, made into a movie a few years back, that was to be his first kind of Hollywood TV show, a main part, okay? That was running alongside Batman. Anyone who's seen the old vintage Batman series from the 60s, it was the same people, really, same makers, and that was to go alongside it. So we got that part, and got the role. It lasted one series, and then was axed. I guess the ratings weren't great, weren't very good enough. But that was his kind of starting in the film industry. Now, on the other hand, around this time, he met up with Santo. Now, they became friends. Santo was already a martial artist, Kempo karate guy under Ed Parker. He was a Filipino martial artist, such in like Kali, Screamer. And I think he trained in Kung Fu styles. But they met up, and then Dan tried to convince Bruce to open what's to be his third Jun Fan school. He had one in Seattle, one in Oakland, and then LA. To which he originally said no, I believe, but eventually he did. But it was to be like recommendations only. Bruce brought some of his friends, Dan brought some of his trusted friends from like Kempo and things like that into the school. And that was to become kind of a close-knit group. So that happened. Bruce, of course, moved to Los Angeles, where he also, of course, moved with his family, Brandon Lee, and I think by that time, no, maybe not quite, Shannon Lee also. But they moved to LA. Now, once he was set up with his school, he made Dan an instructor, and Dan would run the school, and Bruce would come along to check it out and update Dan on what was the innovations he came up with. Now, he was also at that time training these champions from the Long Beach tournament, where he trained, or he kind of guided, if you like, people like Chuck Norris, Mike Stone, and Joe Louis also. Now, these are world champion martial artists in their own right, but they saw, I guess, the talent in Bruce, and Bruce thought he could add something to their game also. So he was training them. He had his own school back in LA, And also around that time, when he got his first part in television, he started getting recognised by film stars. People such as Steve McQueen, who starred in like The Great Escape, Bullet, Le Mans, things like that. James Coburn, Sterling Sullivan, Roman Polanski, people like that. They also were paying ridiculous fees an hour to be trained by Bruce Lee in his Jeet Kune Do. Now, Jeet Kune Do was then the evolution of his art. It started with Jun Fan Kung Fu, then he modified it slightly, Dao Chinese Kung Fu, and then Jeet Kune Do. But that's a different video, guys. But that was when he changed his training regime. After the Wong Jack Man fight in the previous video, he upped the ante with his health, fitness, training methods. Okay, that was where he was at that time. Now, he also had several bit parts at that time, such as Ironside, Here Come the Brides, Marlowe with James Garner, things like that. And then came along Longstreet, which was around 1970. Now that was when he upped the ante a little bit in terms of the kind of how much he was involved in it. But that was just before he moved back to Hong Kong, and that will be covered in the next video. So until the next video, guys, train hard and stay safe, and I'll see you then.